In this video, I'm going to discuss on whether the response of consumption to predicted income changes is important for the effectiveness of fiscal policy. The video is broken up into three parts: the excess sensitivity puzzle, the liquidity constraint and its link, and also the effectiveness of fiscal policy. So first of all, let's look at the definition of excess sensitivity puzzle. So it means that consumption appears to be too sensitive to predicted income changes over the life cycle. The puzzle can be explained on graph. The horizontal line is the smooth consumption curve, where consumption is the same across your life. However, empirical consumption curve is in inverted U shape, which is in the dotted line in the graph. It lies between the predicted income and smooth consumption curve. Instead of being constant over lifetime, consumption from empirical data shows that it is excessively sensitive to predicted income changes. It just deviates from the flat, smooth consumption curve. The puzzle can also be viewed from the quantitative aspect. We start with the intertemporal budget constraint faced by households. Under such constraint, we try to maximize the utility of consumption in period 1 and 2. We also assume that the utility curve to be strictly concave, which means higher level of consumption implies a lower marginal utility. Solving the first order condition with Lagrangian function, we obtained the Euler equation which tells the optimal level of consumption in period 1 and 2. For the term beta times 1 plus interest rate, it is critical. If it is equal to 1, consumption level is the same across different periods. If it's not, then the consumption is different. Empirical data suggested that the term beta times 1 plus interest rate is not equal to 1, which means marginal utility of C1 is not equal to C2, and consumption in period 1 and 2 are different. This suggested the excess sensitivity of consumption to predicted income change. This may be due to households' own preference or liquidity constraint, which will be explained in the following slides. So we move on to the next part, the liquidity constraint. By definition, liquidity constraint means that households cannot borrow any money and they need to precautionary save for future liquidity. Here we have the maximization problem again, where we need to maximize our utility by choosing the optimal level of C1, C2, and A2 under the budget constraint and liquidity constraint. So the modified Euler equation on the right is the result. A new term mil is added compared with the original Euler equation. If the liquidity constraint binds, mil is greater than 0. Marginal utility of C1 will be higher than the original. And as we assumed that the utility curve of consumption to be strictly concave, it is implied that current consumption level is decreased. The household will save more for consumption in the future. Liquidity constraint is the cause of excess sensitivity puzzle. Take a young person as example. He's supposed to borrow money when he is young to smooth out his consumption along his life. But liquidity constraint prevented him from borrowing. Therefore, he consumed less than predicted and appeared to be sensitive to predicted income change. Another example is a retired person. Under liquidity constraint, he would like to save more for precaution. It may be due to uncertainty about future shocks, or he wants to save more to prevent liquidity constraint in future. Therefore, he may consume less than predicted and save at a lower rate than predicted and appear to be sensitive to predicted income change. So for households facing liquidity constraint, they could not borrow money and they prefer saving more instead of consuming. There is a causal relationship between excess sensitivity puzzle and liquidity constraint. Liquidity constraint is a cause of the puzzle.
Created using Powtoon.